Hello, welcome to this episode in which I want to talk about a recent topic, which is longevity, grip, and what it has to do with relationships. You've been around and probably know my name is Marcella Anna Brebam. I'm a conscious relationship coach. Also a leadership coach. That's where my bread and butter comes from. And next to the professional world, I became an athlete, I would say like 2 years ago, or I'm on that journey. I love having that label though. I'm a biohacker for over 15 years when the word did not even exist, and I'm an author. And here I share, all of the thoughts and realizations that come up to inspire you. Big message for me is I'm here to inspire. That's what my audience keeps on reflecting back after 2 online summits and several podcast episodes and the work that I do. So I want to share just, the random thoughts that come up during a day to motivate you to come along, to be part of the journey. And there's just so many moments when I'm like, what do I need to turn 40 only to learn how to live a healthy life? Or like, how much effort does it cost to learn basic things that actually enhance life quality by so much? And yeah, I will say that one of the best choices, in especially in the last 3 years, but probably one of the best choices entirely to arrive on planet Earth and feel strong and confident in my body, was to start personal training. And yeah, in a nutshell, I started 2 years really looking at, okay, like I want to give this a proper try. Like, I'm not into gym memberships. I'm not into lifting weights. I have no passion doing these things. I'm much more a relationship person. So sports to me is something I do with others together. But I was like, you know what? Let me give this one more try. And since then, my world looks different. Mm. And it's only in that journey that I began to understand the importance of starting lifting weight as young as possible. It's never too late to start, but the earlier, the better your outcome and the less suffering you're going to experience, not just in regards to physical, but also hormonal balance and just mental capacities, emotional regulation. It's like all these things, they all have to do with how strong your body is, isn't that? And then so from starting weightlifting and really enjoying it to marathon training, something I did not think was possible, to now training for a Spartan race, which is a race where you have to run and also conquer some obstacles. So that's just, on a surface level, the journey. People have been asking me, how do you do this? What are like the things that you learned? And um, if in this podcast, I want to talk in particular about longevity, grip, and relationships. But if you want to dive deeper or find out more, there is an online version of my longevity protocol that I'm happy to link, and I share some of the products that I use. But I also give some spotlights to some of the learnings or things that I learned along the way that I think are smart to know, especially as a woman, let's say perimenopause, midlife, anywhere in that age range, because that's the age range I can talk about. But I think the earlier, the better. Yeah, so have a look at that. I've heard in the past couple of weeks and months, you know how it goes. Like when the focus goes into a direction, you hear it from all areas. But in the last couple of weeks and months, I heard so often, that grip is really like the strongest longevity marker. Grip is the ability with your fingers and with your hand, but fingers and hand to sustain yourself, to hold yourself. For example, when you're hanging on to do a pull up, but also when you are bouldering or climbing and you hold on to rocks. It's like the strength that you are able to bring into your fingers, that's your grip. I think the world record was recently broken. That might have been the reason why it was all over the news. But it was like, let's say, the world record for an old woman, elderly woman, to hold for several minutes, to hang and just hold herself. And um, so I didn't know, what my grip strength was. But yesterday we did a test. There is a test where you just hold a device and literally you have to squeeze it with your hand. You wouldn't do that when you shake a person's hand. You wouldn't want to squeeze that hand with that strength, but that's how you measure grip strength. And it turned out that my number was 36 kilogram. And for my age range, looking at women at similar age and similar capabilities, the normal measurement was like clearly, I think, like around 30, maybe 29, something like that. And the highest grip in that table was from a 29-year-old, which would be 41. And so the goal for training for Spartan is to get to 41 and beyond to increase the grip strength. Now, grip strength per se is just, let's say, one marker, but it's a signal to so many more physical abilities in your body. It's almost like from the finger that are fairly weak, like what smaller point could you choose to hold your entire body weight? So from the fingers to hold that entire body, it says something about your muscles, especially since the upper body is, so to say, the more flexible muscles, the shoulder blades, not muscles, joints and muscles, but the joints for shoulder blade is like the most flexible, most mobile. It goes into all directions, and therefore it needs more muscles to even be stable or to hold, versus the hip, which is like our biggest set of, like the bones there are the most stable. Please excuse me, like, I just want to say a short disclaimer because it has been on my mind this week. Like, English is not my native language. And usually I don't care, for not finding a word or something. This week, I don't know why I do care, and I feel sorry. And I just want to say, like, the intention is that you hopefully understand what I mean. I don't aim for always having the perfect word. I love choosing a language that just feels right. And for me, English is the language in which I learn, in which I came to life, like, let's say, to a second life, a more conscious life. And therefore, that's just my chosen language. But every now and then, I have these moments where I want to bring something out and I'm just like, damn it. I know this is not right. I know this is like someone is going to say, oh, you wrong word. And I have that in private to business. The intention is always that, and we have that in relationships. It takes something as an active listener to listen from a place of, do I understand what the other person means? And then, I reflect that back much rather than tell the other person, like, you are wrong, this is wrong, you have to use this word. Blah, blah, blah. Like, do you understand what is meant? Check back and great, then let's move on. So um, there's two things I want to say. The shoulder blades are, when it comes to bone structure and joint movements, they are, let's say, the most fragile ones, most easy to, injure. Hip, on the opposite, is like the most stable one. And so for me, just my unmedical thinking, to be strong enough in the weakest parts of the body to hold everything else, it translates into overall body strength. It translates into nervous system regulation, the ability to endure, and to, move from the smallest part to tension in the entire body to hold yourself. And there are studies, and I have them all in the protocol, that show that grip is an indicator for better brain health, and a decline of 5 kilogram of grip, if it's measured that you can only endure or hold 5 kilogram less, is associated with a higher risk, 16% risk of all-cause mortality, a word I've never said out loud. So you can also see how the opposite would, correlate or be an indication for decline in all-cause mortality. Um, grip is also associated with better brain health. It's also associated for women in particular, to decrease the risk of osteoporosis. But there is like a bigger chain of how it is connected. When a woman goes through menopause, there is a time where really it matters beforehand to have built muscles, because muscles help stabilize our glucose, our metabolism, our way of um, hormone production. And so that is really like the key factor to help you bring the best balance into the change of life where hormones change rapidly and drastically. And that is related with a risk for osteoporosis oftentimes. Now, I don't, it's related, right? It's not like duh, 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 duh. And probably many other factors influence this as well. But um, you know that I've recently done a bone density test, so now I have the grip test, and I can just thank my past self that 2 years ago I started this journey, because I think I would not be the person that I am today. I think I would be far more miserable emotionally, mentally, psychologically if I had not done that investment. And it pays out on so many levels. And that is where we come to relationships, because the thing is that if you feel happy, strong, and confident in your body, something that women are not gifted when they are entering puberty, but if you feel all of that in your body, you are a completely different person in your relationships. So obviously, I find it obvious that it translates into the relationship, and it goes much more that direction than into the other direction. So it's not like there's many other factors that will lead to you feeling more confident or fitter in your body. For me, the chain of logic is body first, and then you see the impact on all other relationships. Um, and that is something really striking. I work with couples for over 6 years. I work with humans for over 15 years as a coach. And I see that so many problems, let's say if we take two different groups of humans and we take those that are active and athletics and not active and more, let's say, seated all the time, unhealthy lifestyle, you can see how a certain group of people has maybe this amount of actual problems, um, versus this group has so many more problems. And the more problems you have, the more stress, the more unhappiness, and it just ripples into your relationships. Science has statistics on the fact that if a couple is working out, both of them are working out, they are usually better at navigating conflicts. So it's an upward spiral. If one in the relationship works out, it's typically a good indicator, or it's really good for the other person. The chances are higher for the other person to join and come along, and both benefit then from that. And it's almost like today I was researching a bit on parenting advice, and a lot of parenting, or a lot of also kids education, starts with bringing kids into their body. The importance of teaching them how to move, or letting them just physically play, the ability to move their body, how it influences their thinking, their brain development, their nervous system regulation, their exploration of creativity, their overall well-being. And I feel like, yes, it's almost like the same thing, but we are trying to learn different, or there's different focus on what to learn. But how soon are we putting children into seated learning environments when actually they are still not yet inhabiting their body? And I'm not saying they shouldn't learn how to read. I'm not saying like that is not my main point I want to make here, but we do see how important it is for a child to inhabit their body before even anything else happens. It's almost like that is the Greek know thyself. And starting from there, the better you know yourself, for example, starting with your body and then going into other areas, the better you are able to relate with others. Gonna have a sip and let that drink. Gonna have a drink and let that sink. Mm. Mm. So for me, one of the big messages here is there are so many things we can do in relationship coaching, but for you to get up and moving is like that is one of the smartest starting points ever for everyone involved. Movement will ever be like your first choice. Getting the essential rights, and whether it is that you have a kettlebell near you and you start working with that, and maybe you do book a session with a personal trainer to get like some foundations really adjusted to your body. Because yes, there's also plenty of stories of people who leaned into sports and now they are suffering from the long-term consequences of always doing downward dog wrong in accordance to not in accordance to their body. So we have both of these situations, and that is really why a personal trainer for me made all the difference. Which is also why a personal coach for your relationship makes all the difference in comparison to reading a book or just trying something out. There is so much relation between all of that. For today, I would love to hear from you. How sportive, how active are you, and have you also experienced how the active lifestyle influences your relationships? I mean, it's also like, oh wow, you surround yourself with like-minded people, and all of a sudden we know this law of how the environments we are in support who we are. So the more active people you have around you, the more you create an environment that believes in you actively shaping relationships as well. I'm just whenever I see the connections between sports and relationships, I'm like, this is how we all should learn. And in that, 2 months ago, I didn't see myself being able to do a pull up or to hang anywhere. And I mean, I'm just going to show you my biceps. It's so visible in this video. Actually, it's warm. That's why I'm wearing close to nothing. But I want to show you where I'm at right now. But yeah, 2 months ago, I was like, this is not possible. I don't know how I will ever be able to hold myself. That's not possible. I mean, look at this body, all these heavy muscles. Like, how will I ever? And and I was like, this is crazy. I will not be able to do Spartan in November. But now, yesterday, I did my very first monkey swing. So that's the thing that 10-year-old girls and boys can easily do in an outdoor gym, where they hang and then they swing from one to the next. And try it. If you haven't done that in a while, it's a big thing. So I feel like every 10-year-old can do it. And for an adult, it's a big accomplishment. But ever since now, I'm starting to see the possibility, the vision. Like it's like the mist is going down a little bit, and I see like this could be something. Let's see. Let's see where the journey goes. Well, have a good day. Bye bye.